Hey, it's Shabes! And welcome to another edition of Anitube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week. In this case, from the 12th of October to the 18th of October. I almost didn't find a video to talk about that was not good. Almost. But I found it. Get in the robot. This is not an isekai anime explainer with clouds and a black guy. And they're referring to the aesthetic of the video with, like, there's clouds in their background and it's a black guy talking about it. And I think this is just a title that's supposed to ape on the idea of isekai. So stupid. And I get the cynicism. I really do. It's very hard not to be. Even fans of isekai are just like, there's so much. Oh my god. But nevertheless, the cynicism is very stale for me. And this is a video that just kind of goes through isekais. There's a lot of them. And they literally like buy a bunch of light novels and maybe the mangas or something and talk about them. Like, oh, look at this crazy isekai. Granted that haven't gotten adaptations yet. They did they make this one kind of good joke where it's like, oh, we're happy to talk about this one. They're like, that's getting an anime, like right now. They're like, what? I just got it. Just kind of calling attention that they're so rapidly getting adaptations nowadays. Okay, I did enjoy it moderately, only because the guy, doing the hosting and doing the video, is so charismatic. I think I like these kind of people These kind of people, oh god. I really like the attitude behind it, and someone who's very like normal, like, oh man, like isekai, and I don't know, and not trying to feel like holier than thou or anything like that, and really putting out his perspective out there. I just didn't feel good about all the cynicism and just like, yeah, this is dumb, pass. This is stupid, I'm gonna pass on this one, I'm gonna pass on that one. Just kind of talking about the premise and like the first couple pages maybe, and it's like you really just opened the book, and there's a section where he just opens the book and then like just kind of looks at it out of context and then puts it down, doesn't give it a chance. And like, yeah, I get it, it's easy to kind of feel overwhelmed, and all of these things might come off as truly mediocre. I feel like there's just so much more you could do, and giving it a platform of respect while still being obvious about, like, yeah, there is a lot of these, and making all these observations while giving them the series you're talking about the platform of respect that I think a lot of them deserve, as shitty as some of them might actually be. Like, I'm not like a connoisseur of isekai or anything like that, but I did know about the spider one. I think because Joe talked about it, one of the ones that Joe talked about, that I remember, and I hear very genuinely good things about that, and you do give positive notes about it, but like you spend like 30 seconds just kind of crapping on the title or just judging it by its cover, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of it was in bad faith, for me. So I'm not too jazzed about it, and they're not terrible. It wasn't a terrible video, but it was one of the things that I got kind of bothered by as someone from something. I think at this point people know what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Oceaniz. Okay, I should not really put this into not good, because it's like, it wasn't a bad video. I don't think he outright said anything wrong. See, there's the thing, right? I completely disagreed. Like, severely. It was really funny. As somebody who has not watched Demon Slayer and has not consumed Demon Slayer and watches this video and has seen this character, I thought this was a bad guy. And he's like, everything about his design shows that he's kind and a nice guy. I'm like, I did not get that at all. And he kind of, so yeah, he's talking about like good character design, and it's really funny at points because he uses like a blue draft or a grid or something that looked like the Super Eye Patch Wolf background for his character design video, and then he uses Jotaro as like an example of good character design. I'm like, oh my god, he's just aping on iPad 12. Like, maybe he knows, and maybe he's just, because he says, like, yeah, a lot of people have made videos, or he says entire channels are dedicated to it. I'm like, oh, where? That'd be interesting. I'd love to see it. Okay. But yeah, he goes into, like, look at the I forget the name, like the group that are like the highest level people, and they're like, you can tell there's some sort of cohesion with all of them. I'm like, are you kidding me? They all look completely different. What? And then he calls attention to that they're completely different. And I'm like, that goes again, like, what elements do they have in common? Do you say there's something cohesive in common about them? But the only cohesion I see is the fact that you've collected them in one image. I would not have been able to tell that if you gave them me in isolation. Like this one, or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? And, I don't think he's a bad character. I don't think it's a bad character design. I just think the way you described it and what you extracted out of it, I was like, I did not get that at all. And I get, like, disagreeing is probably not warranting to put it in the not good category. If it's like, oh, this is a bad video. These are not bad videos, by the way. It's not good. It's the absence of, it's not bad. I'm sorry. But you're like, look, he's wearing white, so it's a good guy. And I'm like, or like he's supposed to mean like positive feelings. And I'm like, first of all, he's mostly wearing black. What do you mean? Like, I don't know. There's just so many things with design that doesn't necessarily, it's like, this is good because it shows that he's a good guy. I'm like, I did not get that. I thought this was a bad guy. Or at least some sort of anti-hero, or just some sort of character that's supposed to kind of get in the character's way, that's not necessarily like a straight up ally. But according to what you were talking about, like, this guy is just a straight up good guy ally, like one of his friends kind of deal. And I'm like, I don't get that at all. What? It's like a little kind smile. Like, no, that looks really like devious. It looks like something fucking Hisoka would have, or in my opinion. And I don't know, there's just so much about it. I was like, no, what? That it just kind of, that's what kind of made it like a not good for me. I'm just communicating my perspective. And I was gonna put this one in the decent one for a lot of it while I was watching it, and then the more it went on, I was like, this is getting hard to finish. The Basement Life video with Tenlead and Jeff with Wolf Girl and Black Prince, our most hated shoujo anime. Yeah, no, I've heard very bad things about this, and the way they described it, I'm like, yeah, that's proper. That makes a lot of sense. But I think this video went 8 minutes too long because they really berated the point, kind of just kept going and going and going. And then there's a point where Jeff is like, let's break down the OP. And he makes really bad, or just really, like, there's one point where he gets really upset at how, like, when they're showing the logo, there's like two letters that come up and they zoom out, and then back end, he's like, you can see the pixels, or whatever, and it's like, it's clearly there's supposed to be a paper cutout, but it's totally wrong, or something like that, and it's just like, oh, dude, who fucking cares? Like, oh, okay. Yeah, all right. It was just really obnoxious to me. Tenlead was really good, again, in this. And she actually was really transparent, like, yeah, I read the manga, and, because, I don't know, I was hoping this sort of thing, other thing. And so she gave it a full chance, and I was really happy with that. Where it was very clear, like, they actually admitted that, like, they were going to watch the whole series, but then they just stopped. Tenlead had seen the whole thing, and again, had read through the whole manga, well, most of the manga. I think they were like, yeah, I gave up at one point. Which I guess is fair. I'm not, as a completionist, I could probably be mad, but I'm not all that mad. Like, they were able to talk about it pretty fairly within the first 4 or 5, whatever they watched. I think they said they watched like 4 or 5 episodes. But, like, they were really shitting on the presentation, the production of this show. And I'll admit, it doesn't look great. It looks pretty, like, flat, whatever. But, Jeff in particular makes a lot of grand statements of, like, they must have had 300 frames per episode, or some really grand sweeping claims about production and stuff, that it's just like, it's one of those things that he feels he feels obligated, like warranted, like he has a license to say these things, when a lot of it's just very egregious or just like, what? Like, you don't have to say that. Like there's one point where he was like, for the most part, this looks worse than Handshakers or something, and it's like I don't have a problem with Handshaker. I mean, I've seen people like actually go dig through it and are like, this is actually really ambitious, and whatever, and like, I'm not a fan of the Handshaker hate train, but to make that very obvious hyperbole, it's just, I don't know. I feel like they dug a hole with this one towards the end, especially like after the halfway point, they really started repeating themselves, and it just stopped being kind of in good faith and kind of yucky. Okay, now for the videos that I thought were decent, just pretty good. But I have some things I need to. Hold on. Okay, BaronJ. He did a really cool thing this week. He started this is gonna be a weekly thing, I guess. But he started this series called Mr. Burger. This is chapter 1, and chapter 2 is next week and the week. I don't know how many chapters it's going to be. I don't know if this is something he wrote. I looked in the description, or I haven't. I could ask him probably, or I don't know. But what I assumed was that this is something he wrote, and it's prose. It's very similar to like what Digibro's doing, with his light novel thing. Except this was like actually put a fair deal of effort in, and I'd never seen a video like this. Maybe I'm just a YouTube noob or something. Oh. But at least no one in Anitube's doing something like this. Like he's done an audiobook before, and so he had a lot of effort in. Now, granted, I actually haven't listened to Digibro's light novel. I was just not interested in him doing prose, to be honest. I was just like, that just sounds inherently uninteresting. I'm sorry. Baron had like a fair deal of production put into this, and like attention to detail. There was some sound effects, and like it was like you were there almost sonically. It was great. And what he does with the video, I think, is also pretty interesting, although I think it could have been a little bit better. So the majority of it is static, like videotape, VHS footage, like black screen, and it fades in and out every so often with these really old 80s or 90s commercials for fast food restaurants like Burger King and McDonald's. And so like it's kind of evoking those feelings and that atmosphere. And this is a horror thing. It is kind of like, but it's only just set up. A lot of it's set up in this first chapter. But he does pretty good with tension and suspense, I think, with what little there is. I was like, ooh, all right, yeah. But the video, a lot of it is black screen. And over me watching it, I was clicking off of it, listening to it, of course, because it's an audio thing mostly. But clicking off and doing like looking at other things as it was going, I felt I kind of grew disattached to the video itself, checking it every so often, and whenever it did fade back in with the clips of the commercials, I was invested, because it's kind of interesting. Like clip selection is the whole thing of like, what do you show at this moment when you say these words, right? And there was some very small parallels that I was able to kind of visually, and I'm like, if this was the whole video, I'd be fucking riveted, dude. I think some of the black works. Like if you were able to fade out like during a transition in the prose, like there's some moments where it kind of fades out of consciousness and stuff, that could have really worked. But it ended up feeling really random. Like it would fade in and out like very arbitrary times, and or arbitrary lengths of time. Sometimes it would be 10 seconds, sometimes it'd be like 3 seconds. And it was very hard to latch onto visually. So that's why I was checking out so much. And I think it would be really riveting if you kept it as a video. And I've never seen anything like this or heard anything kind of like this. So what I think you're doing is really experimental and really cool. I just think, to make it even better, maybe you have some further plan for it, and I'm not going to interrupt you for that plan, because clearly there's more chapters to this, and he hyped this up like last week, or a couple days ago at least, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah. So if he has a whole plan for this, maybe there's more recurring, or he starts doing something with the footage, maybe there's something to it, and I'm like, all right, cool. But that's what I've observed out of this first chapter, and I'll probably... So I'm not talking about Canada's recent... He did another Anime Mythbusters this week, and it was obviously really good. But I'm probably not putting it in the digest because I kind of want to avoid series, like serial videos, because I could just be talking about the same thing every week. But this is one thing I do want to talk about every week, actually, as it's coming out, ideally, hopefully. Because, yeah, it's so different, and an endeavor I want to support, if anything, of just giving my 2 cents about it, you know? So I like what you're doing a lot, and that's what I think about it so far, and good luck with the rest of it. I'm looking forward to it. Cartoon Cipher! Yeah, it's not in the best. Not in the best. Why does Evangelion use classical music? Now, this is really good to a degree, but there's one issue that I started noticing, and then it kept creeping up, and I was like, oh, yeah, So we've all said that, well, we've all noticed that Abi is really good at what he does. The editing, of course, on this is sharp as hell. The clip selection is really varied, especially when they're using stuff not Ava, and smart, just generally with clip selection and like moving things around and stuff. I was riveted for the video. I couldn't take my eyes off it, but I think he overstepped himself in this video. Oh, I should also mention new writer and new narrator. She had like 2 degrees in music theory or something like that. Like knew what she was talking about, and you can tell she knew what she was talking about. And gave a really good performance. And I think I would love to, I'm excited to hear more from her. I thought the script and the actual content of the video was fantastic. But there is an issue that I really, Okay, so what is that issue? It was to do with, the subject is obviously Evangelion, and they talk about which classical pieces of music and a little bit of their history and what they're kind of used for and what they're used for in the series. And there was a point, I can't exactly tell you what, but it totally made me distrust what you were showing, because there was scenes that you were showing clips of the anime that I knew did not have those pieces of music attached to them. And you're mixing that with describing when certain pieces of music are being shown. Now, this is obviously as someone who literally just made a video about scenes implemented in a series. It's important that you get that right. That you're like, this is not where this is not where it plays. This is where it does play. Why? And I feel like you showed footage during some part. I'm sorry I'm not giving very specific, like I didn't look into like the nitty gritty, maybe I'm wrong, but there was moments that I was like, it didn't play there. You're kind of fabricating this to prove your point, or just like rapidly showing you know how Abby does with like the editing is super fat, or a lot of it's really rich, and playing in different places and stuff like that, and he has complete autonomy with it. But he's not letting the scene play out to where I'm completely confused of where exactly this musical piece that they're talking about is playing. I don't have a grasp on that. And so I end up getting kind of distrustful of the information. I don't assume what you're saying is wrong, but visually what you're showing me makes me think, wait a minute, I don't think so, and you're losing trust in your viewer, right? And that's what my problem was. I was like, I'm starting to not trust you with what you're showing me, and maybe I'm just looking too deep into it. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. And again, I don't think the narration and the script itself was necessarily incorrect. It really was just down to the visual presentation, the way that it was shifted around. You made this one joke that I guess was from The Simpsons or something, that like he quotes like something from Smithers and his assistant or some, I'm not a Simpsons person, but he's matching it to like Gendo talking, and they're kind of doing like a little funny joke, a bridge thing, and it's just a joke. I get that it's just a joke, but it's very emblematic of what I'm talking about, where he's showing the fight, like the very beginning of the series, like the first Angel Shinji fights, and I'm like, they definitely didn't play something there, or like the way you're editing it, it's like, that's not how it happened. And it just seems very inauthentic. That's just, obviously it's just a joke, but like, that's what it kind of felt emblematic of a lot of the video. There was points where I'm like, yes, he does hum Beethoven's thing, Beethoven's soundtrack or whatever. But there's other moments where I'm like, this feels like a stretch. This feels like it didn't really play during all of that, or all of that moment, or all of that idea. There was parts of it that was just like chaotic and not problematic. I don't know. It just lost me, is what I was saying. So that's what I would say. And you know, I'm sorry I'm not putting all my eggs into researching and really disproving it. Like, you're wrong, or whatever. But that's kind of what I was feeling. I was feeling distrustful, and I'm like, I don't know, man. So that's just me. Other people, I mean, it's probably a good video. I think it's a pretty good video. That's why it's indecent. But you know, UrbanTheMyth. What is great direction in anime? Gakugarashi's unappreciated creativity. So, I really like the points that you make, and then I really like the point you make at the beginning, where it's like, I'm the only one that's made Gakugarashi more than one Gakugarashi video. I'm like, fair, very fair, and it really shows that your passion for this series, and it being I assume it's your all-time. I believe it is. And I really like that you were able to make this video without feeling like you have to talk about everything. Because I know as a content creator, you feel like you want to talk about everything, right? And make that definitive video. I think Digi actually talked about this, about Super Eye Patch Wolf and Berserk earlier this week too, where it's like you want to make that big thesis opus video, but that's obviously too overwhelming or not feasible oftentimes. I've felt that about Oceaniz. God, have I felt that about my favorite. Everyone probably has that about their all-time favorite. So I'm happy you were able to kind of break past that and be like, here's the stuff I found interesting, and in kind of as you said, a stream of consciousness and like different pieces, and kind of weaving through you looking through your favorite show. And I like that a lot, and that passion really comes through, and it's an entertaining video. I really like it. One thing that I'd probably be like, what is great direction? There's a lot to this that I agree is down to the direction, especially the scene that you detail about the radio or the CD player and the dropping and making those in like the process of that, and like you probably didn't notice blah blah blah. It was really good. But there's other things that in general that you talk about here that I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily attributed to the direction or attributed to the series itself, like the source material. Like what did the mangaka include? And I think you were saying to me just IRL that there's a lot of differences with the manga and the anime. As someone who's interested in adaptations, I'd be like, so how much of that is a choice from the anime and the anime director, or even just the episode director? I think you could probably dive even deeper in to this series. This as one idea. If you want to keep thinking about making more videos of this going forward, what are the episode directors like? You know, and learn the series director. And I think you mentioned him. Of what else he's done, or maybe I'm confusing with another video. I'm sorry. I watch a lot of anime YouTube. And learn the episode directors, and what they've done previously, and like what their quirks are, and maybe the little minute details of like, so there's some differences here in between episodes, not in terms of continuity or anything like that, because of course there shouldn't be. But maybe just some stylistic stuff of like, oh, there's more heavy emphasis on this idea or the style or something like that. I don't know, just giving you more ideas, I suppose. I don't know 100% if it was like the direction or it to me, that was what was coming to my mind. I'm like, the whole thing with like the girl having a shovel, that seems like something the author came up with. And like, that's a thematic thing and not necessarily like what the director is showing. I feel like that a lot of that's just them being faithful. Although what you did say about the bite marks and how that's constantly being framed and prominent, that is, I would imagine that's a directorial choice. But there were some little bits of that where I was following it that I was like, I don't know if that was them. Like, you know, the director making that choice. So I really liked it. And I'm happy you're making. I kind of voiced my perspective on you making videos on your all-time favorite, and I respect it a lot. Very good job. Okay, and now what I thought were the best videos of the week. Good job. Okay, he finally found a video I could talk about. from hiding in public. Oh no! The wide world of anime art. Probably the weakest thing. Oh, here we go. The only thing I would dislike from this video is the title, because it kind of makes it like cauterized, and that you can't make more of these, because please make more videos like this. Maybe like once every 2 months. And you're saying like, maybe this won't be a one-off. You kind of hint at that. And I'm like, no, actually, please don't. This was awesome. And I loved hearing you talk about these artists. What this is, it's not trying to make some grand fucking sweeping claims, thank God, and not trying to be emblematic of the whole thing or trying to summarize it. Or I feel like a lot of other anime YouTubers, like I can see Super Eye Patch Wolf and Gigic in particular make this kind of video, but really try to get like a full sense of it. And they would, I don't know how well they would do. Maybe Super Eye Patch Wolf could do it because he's pretty good at that, but this isn't what this is, and I'm happy you didn't go for that. Instead, what Hiding in Public does is highlight several artists that he likes. Several of which that he was very transparent, like, they also did art for me, on commission. And I'm like, wow, how do you get people to do it? I've had one person, and that's my current avatar. I'm holding it, and I hold it onto it for dear life, because I'm like, I can't believe someone made this for me, But you have so many people that do this for you. I was a little jealous. But the way you talk about their art and the way it makes you feel and what you think they're especially good at, I think you were really good at that. Like making those very specific particular observations and not making some grand sweeping statement is really refreshing. And I think you're very good at it. And I will say, I was not fully invested in how you were describing them until you showed that you do some art yourself. And like you've done art. And you actually do draw, and like you get it, because I feel like there's so many people. I'm not gonna try to make that equivalency of like, oh, you shouldn't talk about anime if you can't make it. God, I think there gets more validity when you show people your art and you don't brag about it. It's a very small thing, but that completely validated to me your opinion. Not as fact or anything, but it really made me feel like, oh, he is coming from a place of someone who makes art and tries to draw hands. And not saying you can't draw hands, but like the way you talk about like, oh, it's difficult to draw hands. You're not just coming out of a place of someone who doesn't even fucking try to draw hands. You've probably done it yourself. So I feel like that sort of mention, that was a quick mention, but it validated the whole thing for me. I was like, yeah, okay, he knows what he's talking about. He knows what perspective is. That meant a lot to me. And a little bit I did see of that art. You kind of showed it really quickly, but I like it. I don't see you tweet about it. I don't think. Do you have a DeviantArt? And then you were like, I'm not trying to make a grand sweeping statement. And you talk about some really good artists that I don't know if I'm not like enticed to follow 100%, but I know this feeling so hard of like finding an artist on Twitter and following them hardcore and then liking a bunch of their shit, right? And I'd love, more like that. I was following one of them already, the Girls Last Tour artist, of course. And I think I knew about the one that has Luwich Academia art a little bit. I think I'm following her or them or some other person. I don't know. But yeah, it embodied that experience, and I really liked this video a ton, and I hope it didn't take too long to make, because you could do a lot more of them. Maybe like once a month, please. But I get it would be like once every 2 months or something. Please just make it recurring, whenever you feel like it, because I hope the reception to this is good. I would assume it will be, but awesome, hell yeah. Well, I enjoyed another sydsnap video. I'll admit I don't click on all her videos that often because I don't know, I'm not interested in the material she's talking about. But finding the worst bootleg anime merch from the internet, that sounds like fun. I'll go for a laugh. And she's really funny. She's hysterical. She's so witty and sharp, and comes from a place of like an actual fan. And so like she talks about her experience like as a 12-year-old with like being an Ouran Host Club fan and like getting the it really came from a place of experience. That's what I really like about Sydsnap a lot. She never feels fake, or just from a place of like artificiality, or like you can tell she's in it. She's in it deep. Any of the bootleg stuff she did show, she was never like, oh, it's bad. She just let it speak for herself. Like, this is the sweatshirt I got. Like the reveal for that, I was like, and she was like, oh, this is actually a really nice sweatshirt, like good material. I love shit like that. And it wasn't overly mean spirited, and but still like obviously like hilarious and funny, and her edits are really clean, and always makes me laugh, and I like it a lot. Her content's good, dude. It's just good. Yep. That's some good content right there. I have to redo my tier list probably after a little while. I've been making more of an effort to watch these videos, so I'll probably have a better nuanced tier list if I ever make one again. But yeah, it's gonna be up there. Stevem made another video that's in the best category. Like, yeah, okay. I did make another video. Cool. Deja Vu from Initial D to Eurobeat memes. Thank you for talking about this. Thank you. I was like, check, please, thank you. It didn't matter how good it ended up being, because it just like, yeah, I know exactly how he's going to talk about it, and it was exactly what I thought. And you don't disappoint, my friend. He's really good at research and finding the real origins of this stuff, and sometimes he's very transparent. Like, I don't know when this started. Like, I feel like the initial wave of like people syncing Eurobeat or Deja Vu to fast moving things, he was very transparent. I was like, I think it was sometime in 2014. Like, he didn't go right to the first 4chan post or anything like that, like down to the first one. Maybe he did, and I'm misremembering. It's been a week. Sorry. And he comes from a place of such like authority, in my opinion, and maybe it's like, I don't mean to, but it was a place of someone who's like, who did their fucking research, who really dug into it and was like, this is what I found, and this is what I found interesting. And I love shit like that, because it reminds me of when I would do research for like Mahojin Guru Guru's that adaptation video I made. It's very reminiscent of that, of like that satisfaction of like finding something interesting and sharing that, maybe for the first time in a video format. And obviously in such a succinct, cohesive, entertaining way. And all in that delivery he has that is not that flashy or showy, and he's just but still has a sense of humor. Like, it's still kind of like, it's still nice. And it's always really like, it feels very comfy. His videos are just very, very comfy, but super well informed, and like likes to talk about this stuff. The genuine passion. That's the shit that I love. And I commented like, thank you for just talking about this, so I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to dwell on it in the video I'm gonna make. I don't know if I'm gonna make a video or not at this point. I got really burnt on Initial D, story wise, but that's neither here nor there. But love that you made the video. Please check this one out. Very good job. And last, I'm just going to call it the best video of the week, because I'm finally going to talk about them. This is a channel that, I don't know if you've heard of them or not. Striving for Animation. How anime is made. First key layout director checks. Okay. I will admit, I have not been like keeping up to date with these guys. I watched like one of their first videos, and then, I don't know, time kind of went by, and there's a couple videos. But when I gathered from just watching this video, I should have watched more. After this one, I should have fucking watched more. What I can tell is they're making their own short animation the legit way. Like, actually, and like showing the step-by-step process, flaws and all. Like, they actually went through, like, there was a point where they were like, one of them was like, I miswrote, or I did this step incorrectly. And they were transparent about that. What? Who? What universe? But what universe is anything in this video? You'll watch this and you'll be like, is this fucking real? Like, what? It's all talking about, literally, how anime is made. And you would see that title and be like, no fucking way. Like, there's something wrong about that. And heck, maybe there is. I don't know. But it's so legit, dude. This is the fucking real deal. Like, they're talking about Stuff I've never will in a million years ever hear from anyone else. This is on a level not even from Canada. Like, Canada is talking about it as someone who, like, has reported on this and is, like, as an insight, like, as on someone, like, who's been researching the industry, like, firsthand, but not someone who is fucking in the industry and just fucking doing it themselves. I'm just stunned. Yeah, it's a 2-person, maybe there's more people, but a 2-person team, and, like, it's like, I will be, like, they're very straightforward. There's no fucking jokes. There's almost no charisma. I will admit. It's actually kind of dry. It's kind of like, it's kind of dry. But it's so legit and it's fascinating. And they're just talking about this, and like the cut by cut. And very straightforward. At first I couldn't follow it. At first I was like, this might be too much. This might be like too much for me to handle right now. But you were able to get it. You're able to follow it eventually. But they don't hold your hand, and they don't make fucking memes. It's just really straightforward, and like, this is what we're making. And the one thing that gave me a shot of adrenaline, just of respect, of like praise for these human beings, is at the end of the video, he's one of the guys who was talking. He was like, I would just like to apologize to everyone for the delay of this video, my conduct. And it just talks about delayed the video, or like, just be honest of like, I don't know if he was trying to say that like he was just slow or like neglected he was just making an apology, very straightforward, and like, it is of my you know, and it like, holy shit. Like, he didn't have to say that. His patron, like, he could have just apologized to like the patrons they have, or any, but in the video, at the end of it, I've read on an explanation point a few times about showing incompetence in videos, but to acknowledge it cleanly in a way that there would be no way to tell otherwise, but just showing integrity like that, in terms of like, I'm the reason this video is late. I apologize. I will try to do better. Like, what? It just kind of like, it was the way it was so sudden, and I'm calling attention to it just because of how much it really gripped me. Of like, whoa, these dudes are fucking legit, and I could tell they were legit from the first video they dropped. And I must have tweeted it or something, or I don't know who I told. I was blown away by this channel from the first couple of uploads, or maybe I watched 1 or 2 videos or something. But like, it was super ambitious, and they're literally doing it step by step, showing you the paper and like what real animators in Japan would fill out and to make, and it's very methodical, and doesn't try to cut corners, and doesn't hide the errors they made. In fact, a lot of it is like, this was too much this, and it's a lot of correction. And I guess that's the kind of video that, you know, that they're making, is like, this is the correction stage, for checks. But oh my god, I couldn't hype this video more. Please watch it. It's not the most exciting thing, but if you've been watching anime YouTube, if you think anime YouTube is a bunch of bullshit, obviously you're not watching enough. So that was much shorter this time than last episode, and it didn't get too dark. Awesome. Yeah. Have a good week. Yo, peace.